making the audience fall in love with these characters, you know? And I feel like we just kind of got to know them. And then I started to think, did I make a mistake?
Hey everyone, Nick here for CBR, here with Genndy Tartakovsky for Primal. Genndy, I am so happy to have you here. Congratulations on Primal Season 3 and Fix. It's been a momentous year for you. And also, you just dropped the Black Knight teaser of sorts. A lot of stuff to get into. Let's start with Primal Season 3. I want to talk to you about the evolution of the series and how it pertains to your relationship with Adult Swim. It's been a while since Season 3, or since Season 2, rather. How has production been, and what's it like working so closely with Adult Swim all these years? What was the production process like in this long hiatus in between the seasons?
I mean, it's always been great, with Cartoon Network to then Adult Swim. It's the same people mostly that I've known for years. And we've always had such a great relationship. And they've always supported me with the new. It's like, can you do Dexter's Lab again or anything? It's nothing like that. It's like, what else is happening? What's new? What do you want to do next? And so that's always great. And so the biggest thing that happened was the merger, right? So we finished Season 2. I was all set to start third season. And then that whole thing started the big shakeup, right? And it had nothing to do with me. It's just, corporate and political and all that stuff. So that was kind of the big slow up, where in the old days, if I wanted to do a show and if we're all, of the same mind, it's like 2 weeks and we can go. I think getting the official green light and getting the money took us almost 8 months. So that was a big chunk of time that we had to kind of wait,
You are, I won't be shy to say it. You're a living legend in the industry. You're a multiple Emmy Award winner. You have been a fixture in so many childhoods and now adulthoods and IP with Clone Wars. And what is it like to be such a fixture in the industry, be such a legend, and still have to fight these uphill battles, whether it's with the merger over at Warner Brothers or in getting Fix produced, or what you're experiencing with Black Knight, pushing that just to see if a groundswell will happen around it. What's that like for you?
It's, look, I'm not self-aware of what my place is in the industry. I know I've worked for a long time and I've accomplished a lot. At the same time, it's Hollywood, and Hollywood is brutal, where, no matter the success, if you have a failure or if it's not in the right place or whatever, you're back down here and then you got to start over. So I've never let anything get in my, in my mind or my ego or whatever. And so we're always fighting the fight, basically. With my relationship with Cartoon Network and Adult Swim, it's great. My relationship with Sony is great. It's just, it's a business, right? And so you have to take a project over the finish line is a monstrous undertaking.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's the case too with animation, which takes so long to get produced, both in pre-production, production. It's a multiple year process in a way that live action production is not, to get across the finish line as well. With the case of Primal, I saw a brief teaser. We know a bit of a change of pace here. Spear is now a zombie.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what inspired you in that level of storytelling. Were there any zombie movies or stories that you reached to as a source of inspiration? Or is this all just in your mind's eye and completely original zombie storytelling?
Yeah, I mean, it all kind of started where, I talked about having the third season be an anthology, right? And that's where I began. And I started drawing it. And at the same time, I felt like, I just spent 20 episodes making the audience fall in love with these characters, And I feel like we just kind of got to know them. And then I started to think, did I make a mistake? And the interesting thing is, like, the audience, they tune in for 10 episodes every year, every year and a half or 2 years, right? For me, during that time, I'm making them. So I'm living with it it feels like 8 seasons when I'm living with it. So sometimes you think like, oh, I'm sure this is enough, you know? And then when I started to actually make the next thing, it wasn't organically happening. And then I had this instinct in my gut, and I've always trusted my gut that I think there's more for Primal. And then the idea just came. I'm like, oh, wait, that's super pulpy and cool. That fits our world, and we've done it in Plague of Madness with the diseased dinosaur. So this is part of our world, and what would I do with it? And what's the story? What's the emotional story? And then this thing rose to the top, and we're like, yeah, we have to do this.
I'm curious to how you have always evangelized the squash and stretch and a lot of the forebearers of animation and just a traditional animation style. How does that come up and become even more integral for a story like Primal that requires less dialogue? And how does it appear? I feel like an audience might be able to identify those methods in your comedic work more succinctly, but how does it appear in ways that maybe an audience wouldn't quite realize in a property like Primal?
It's interesting because it is in there quite a bit, and we might not have the big bug-eyed takes or everything, but what it has, not to get too into the weeds, but it's got very strong posing, very posing unique to its character. So if you just think about how Bugs Bunny stands versus the way Daffy stands, and all those little nuances is what I take from all the foundation that I got from Bob Clampett, Chuck Jones, Tex Avery, all that stuff. And I just filtered it through this kind of comic book cartoony style. And that was kind of I always think it's the interesting thing about me, because I loved comic books, superhero stuff, but I knew I could never draw that well, ever.
It's so wild to hear you say that.
Because I would go to comic book conventions and I would watch somebody like John Byrne or Frank Miller draw, and I was like, there's just no way. Being a 14-year-old kid, it was, and I'm not a quitter, but that seemed somehow I could never. From how badly I drew as a kid, I couldn't foresee that happening. And at the same time, I loved animation, just absolutely loved it. And I could draw Scooby-Doo a little better than I could draw Wolverine or somebody. And so my love began. And so by Primal, that's why I always feel like Primal is the closest thing to my heart, because it's an expression of all that. And then this visceral style of filmmaking that's visual, and that comes, same thing, from those cartoons, because they want to show it, not say it, and the success of Samurai Jack was that, and that's where kind of Primal came from. It's like a very natural growth, I feel like.
Yeah, the evolution chart from the Samurai Jack to the Primal pipeline definitely makes sense. Now that I hear you talking about your superhero fandom and that you could draw Scooby-Doo better than Wolverine, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Pull quote of the day, as far as I'm concerned. But I'm seeing like a Wolverine and Spear. Like, is that an influence? Like, did you cognizantly go into Primal going like, this is where I'm going to get my superhero comic book yayas out in a way I haven't before?
I mean, it's part of that DNA. I think, Jack Kirby, Frank Miller, John Byrne, Walt Simonson. I mean, there's so many to name. It was the art and the comics that I loved, and so I tried to draw it, but I couldn't. And so, it was something that kind of evolved. And so when I'm drawing my cartoony style, it's part of it, like it's funny, like they all have the same things going for them. It's strong silhouettes, strong expressions, of course, Frank Frazetta was in there too somewhere. And so it's this big hodgepodge of things that I pull from. And then if you do it enough and not trying to do an homage or steal the style, it just kind of becomes your own.
I'd like to wrap up with this. I only have a little bit more time. You've built this entire world in Primal with just movement and rhythm and sound design. Do you see that as a lost art in modern animation that you are a flag bearer for, or are in the state of the industry? Do you see other creators rising to the occasion and sort of adopting the same methodologies that you have evangelized over the years?
It's an interesting question. I mean, perhaps a little bit. You see more. I mean, definitely with the rise of adult animation and the popularity, you're seeing things more in that direction. But I think still everybody relies on dialogue. And to do visual storytelling, you have to be very patient and very confident in what you're doing. And yeah, you see a little bit about it. I don't know if it's won everybody over just yet, but it's. I like to keep my little box and what I do well, and hopefully I'll get even better at it. But yeah,
Well, congratulations on Primal Season 3.
thank you.
Good luck with Black Knight. I'm so excited. Everyone go to YouTube and watch the teaser. It's amazing. I'm really hope everything works out with that. And thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.